welcome back to the Seattle Sucks podcast. And since you're hearing my sweet, dulcet tones, it means that Colin is dead again. So
he promised us he would never leave us again.
Yeah. Well, just like both our dads, Colin is gone again.
After recording last week's episode, Colin said he was just going out for Mountain Dew. And we haven't seen him since.
So I'm sure he's just lost. So if you see Colin once again, just contact the show. Let us know. Let us know he's okay.
If you see a guy, like a very tall man in dad jeans, like trimming some random person's lawn with a scissors, give us a ring. Well, so Brian's here, I'm here. We have called in the heavy hitters. We've got the panel on the line and here with us in studio to talk about what you all want to hear. You want that biting, up-to-the-minute Seattle Sucks analysis and reporting. We are going to do it. We're here with Brynn Roth. Say hello, Brynn.
Hi.
We've got Ben Udishin.
Hello. Hi.
Hey. They are the hosts of the new podcast, Red Diaper Baby, and we have brought them here to talk about, friends and comrades, the presidential debate. Right now, we're going to break it down minute by minute. Laugh line by laugh line. Guys, thoughts right away. What are your thoughts on the presidential debate, everybody?
Well,
What do you got, Brynn?
It definitely reminded me of two toddlers within a preschool classroom.
In that they both shit their pants during the debate.
Well, in a lot of ways, yeah. They're both spitting a lot and stomping their feet a lot. Yeah.
Well, and one had a deadly disease they were spreading the entire time. So.
Oh, true.
That is every preschool
very
classroom.
applicable, actually, to my
a petri dish. Yes.
Guys, breaking news. Trump is dead, or alternately, Trump is dying.
Or alternately, Trump is healthy again. Sorry for the break. We'll just fill in whichever one is true by the time we release this.
By the time this comes out, sometime tomorrow or late at night tomorrow. Who knows? It could be anything.
He said he was feeling really good. Don't be afraid. Don't be.
But
afraid,
then he was
people.
gasping for breath. But so I don't know. I'm just so confused.
Dominate your life.
Yeah, don't be afraid to hope.
I think we're obviously, it goes without saying that we're all hoping that he kicks the bucket in whatever way is the funniest.
Yeah.
And that
his last words will be, "I can't breathe."
Yeah. I just hope that he steps.
God, no.
Oh, damn. Wow, Brynn.
I hope he doesn't die from COVID. I hope as he's leaving the hospital, he steps in a custodial bucket, gets his foot caught in it, and then goes like, whoa! With his,
And he already left the
everywhere,
hospital,
knocks a
though.
bunch of mops over, and then falls down the stairs.
And it didn't happen, unfortunately.
Yeah. And he gets his head stuck in a jar at the bottom of the stairs, and that's how he dies.
In the cookie jar.
Yeah.
Well,
perhaps.
I mean, it'd be super cool if he dies. I think I'm just it's all just so confusing. Like, after the debate, like, Brian wanted to do like an emergency podcast.
Yeah, I called an emergency podcast, and Greg, in typical fashion, just goes, "I don't want to."
I was like, nah, that sucks. I'm not doing that. But the main reason was I encouraged Colin and Brian to like record their thoughts and put it out after the debate. But the main reason was because all I was thinking, what was going through my head and what I was feeling and thinking about it, what just sounded to me like desperate lib pundit brained cope. And and I was like, I was not ready to say that. And then the thing is, if I'm going to think anything about it, I still kind of think that. I still kind of think what I was thinking that night, which is
Too good to be true.
I mean, it's you know, it was a blessing in my life, certainly.
Yeah.
But like beyond that, like somehow we could go through the like, you know, psychoanalyzing the American voter and like again, it would all just sound like I was like a talking head on MSNBC. But I honestly think I think Trump looked like shit, and I think he fucking ended it. I think he ended it. That's what I think. I don't know. I can't help it.
Well-
That's my instinct. Look, anything could happen. Doesn't like, and it's so hard to understand what anybody's going to make of any of this. But I think you can't. Again, this sounds so lame and sounds like the shit they were saying 4 years ago. But I think you can't go up there after 4 years of being president with the same shtick, because everyone already knows the answer to what if this guy actually was president? What if we voted this wild card in? What would happen? And now to come full circle on that, I think you're looking at that, and then he's also going like, man, we're gonna do great things when I'm president. Like he basically
Right.
said, it's like, dude, motherfucker, like, I think like the fact that he couldn't come out there and make a case really, and was just like a grouchy, like catty old lady, like in the early throes of COVID.
But yeah,
I just
early
I think,
throws for himself.
I think because here's the thing, I watched the debate 4 years ago and I was like, oh, I get this. I get why Trump is, gonna at least come close to this. I get like this is gonna resonate with a lot of people. And there's gonna be some diehard hangers on, but if you're at this point, there's so much with COVID, with the economy, like if you're a diehard Trumper, it's because you're forcing out reality. You like have decided what to believe, but that's a thin veil, like. So when you see him, the avatar of this whole thing up there, just not being able to articulate anything beyond the same shit he was saying 4 years ago, but way worse, way less charismatic and interesting, not just for for being played out at this point, but also for just his. Like, he just looked like shit. Like, he just looked like
they don't
absolute
care
shit.
anymore. I was just talking to my dad today. My step cousin, got married on Saturday, and I asked him how it went, and he's like, "Oh, well, there was about 5 people wearing masks out of 200 people, and my parents and my grandma were of the three of the 5." So they just still don't give a shit, even though Trump has COVID, even though he says horrid things. They don't give a fuck.
Yeah, okay. I mean, so maybe I'm totally wrong. I think it's percentages. This whole thing's could be, very close. Like, it's just, my sense is not that all of Trump America is going to turn against Trump, but like the 2% necessary for him to lose. That. Well, I don't know. That's my read. This was a bit, though. We weren't really going to talk about the debate because it's like so played out. Like, that was meant to be a joke, but like I went off on it anyway. But what I was trying to get to saying was like, it's
Please
like,
talk more about it.
is that now I was feeling that, and then this thing with him getting COVID is like, you could look at that any 1,000 different ways.
I think
how that affects the election.
I think Trump got COVID because Biden said "Inshallah." Didn't you guys hear about that?
Yeah. Biden prayed.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
prayed.
to God.
He faced Mecca, and bam, there you go. Saladin's revenge.
It is the one true faith. It's the one true faith.
Oh my God.
I mean, it is funny. Online, they've already like instantly moved to the Trump got shot with the COVID gun, the deep state COVID gun.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh,
And so if he-
absolutely.
So if he does die, like, I mean, this country's gonna get so fucking stupid so fast. It's gonna be hilarious.
Yeah. But
I will say-
maybe. What were you saying, Ben?
Oh, I was just gonna say. I mean, you're saying that Trump hasn't accomplished anything, or like he's doing the same shtick. But guys, all those cruise ships are filled up to the brim with celebrity pedophiles now. Like it is full. It is good. Like the poop cruise will finally be released on the most just victims. Finally. Some justice.
At long last.
At long last, Carnival Cruise can stop using that Iggy Pop song that I like.
Oh, man.
I did see a tragic photo on Twitter of all the cruise ships just getting torn apart in a fucking scrap yard.
Scrapped, yeah.
And,
Pathetic.
what are my parents gonna do in the winter?
I was just going to say, your mom and dad, they're going to cry. They better not come visit us in the winter.
Well, yeah, now
You know
I
who
gotta
has a
lock my
lust for
doors.
life?
What's up?
Everyone on Jeffrey Epstein's flight log.
Yes, exactly. Lust for life in that they want it like shot into their body.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, I will say about the last sort of maybe thoughts on the debate was I did, as a normal human being does the next morning, pop onto the NYPD message boards to see what they
Super
thought about
fucking
it.
normal.
Oh God.
And,
How do you get on there?
Huh? It's called The Rant with 2 E's, and it splits every 3 months because it gets discovered and they move to a different one. But if you just search The Rant, you can find it. It's pretty easy.
Oh, that's awesome. Great.
But the funny part was they were overwhelmingly either saw it as a complete wash or were worried that Biden looked too good. So from the minds of the absolute psychopaths of the NYPD, that seemed to be their position on it. I will say the decorum debate that happened afterwards, I think this was the best presidential debate I've ever fucking seen.
Oh, it was
the
wonderful.
fact that all they did was
Great.
yell at each other with
was
no
awesome.
fucking moderation ruled. And I think it revealed, because it had an antagonistic, for the first time ever, had an antagonistic format, it actually revealed the contradictions in both of them and forced them to take the mask off and reveal they're not doing anything for anybody. Like that was the message of the debate. We're all going to die.
The joke, yes, the
You
joke
know,
of it
like-
is like by stripping away the decorum and the sort of performative differences of the two parties, right, and like just taking it down to, it's like if you're a normal human, you're looking at them being so angry at each other, and in a normal situation, like a real like world that made any sense, if the two people are that like out of control, but are like campaigning for like to be leader of the world, there would be some substantive disagreements, you know?
Yeah.
You would like that would be part of what they were arguing about, but all the closest they ever came to that was they were in agreement. The angriest they ever got was agreeing with each other. Like, no, I hate the left more and love the cops more than you do. Like that is the most heated it got was like that, and the rest was all bullshit, you know? So like there was at no point was anyone up there saying anything substantive, which I think if you're like a regular human being, you would that would seem weird to you. Whereas like when it's all sort of performative and mannered, like that feels like a layer of mystery, a mystification that you can't pierce through to see what the substantive things they really mean are, you know? But that, I don't know. Anyway, this is all bullshit. Who cares?
Yeah.
The cool thing is that Trump
Who cares?
may die, but like I was saying, like I was feeling like for the first time after the debate, I was feeling like, okay, I think maybe Trump's going to lose. I can like take a deep breath here. It'll be close, but I don't really know. But I was feeling less bad about it. And now, I mean, who the fuck knows?
Yeah.
He could get a big sympathy bump, whether he lives or dies. If he dies, I mean, he could end up winning, and we could have the 4 years plus a month or two of Mike Pence. You know.
Yeah.
But
Awesome.
You
He's
know.
gonna call the entire country mother.
Yeah, exactly.
It is the motherland.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
If Trump dies, the Democrats will vote to have his face added to Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
Right,
Out of a
yeah.
sense of propriety. So.
No, absolutely. There'll be
His butthole
imagine the
lips.
state funeral. Imagine the like weeping commentators. Mike Pence leading the whole thing with like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer by his side. You know, like
yeah.
giving you know.
If Nancy Pelosi doesn't like reboot every 5 minutes. during
I mean,
it.
yeah.
But that is a tough thing. It's like that could rally people around Trump. It could be a big sympathy bump, but it's still like this problem where people don't necessarily know what to do with the ballot. Don't like you can imagine like America's very sort of dumb and detached, and you can imagine still a lot of people going like, wait, but I can't actually vote for the dead guy, can I? I mean, you absolutely can. But who the fuck knows? I mean, if anything, what Brian, you and I have talked about is that everything just comes down to owning or getting owned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if he dies or remains
ownership
very
society.
sick, the ownership society. If he dies or remains very sick through the election, which is very possible, I think that's him getting owned. And then I think it's a wash. It's like him just getting sick is still kind of getting owned, even if he survives it. But he could get a bump from owning the virus and the libs. So I don't know. It's tricky. It's tricky. I don't know. There's There's no firm ground. There's too many variables. There's too many variables in American politics now. It's a brave new world.
Well, maybe we should break it down to something a little easier to understand. Maybe something childlike, even. This is how we do segues around here, beautifully.
Badly simplistic, yes.
Seamless.
Brynn and Ben, or Brynn as I like to call the two of you.
Sure, why not?
We had you guys on once before in the hilarious first episode where we all had individual microphones. And for some reason, it sounds like we're all shouting into each other's mics at the same
we
time.
kind of were.
And
when I saw that setup the first time, I was kind of like, I don't know about this, but I didn't want to say anything. And then I ended up being right.
That's right. I recorded 10 minutes of audio on Greg's boat one time before Jason Rigdon leaned over to my computer and was like, "I don't think the mics are on." And he literally hit the buttons on my computer to turn the fucking mics active.
That rules.
Nice.
That rules.
But anyways, you guys are on so we could to talk about childcare, and of course we botched it through our natural ability to be a technical disaster. So you guys decided immediately after that, I'm thinking, to create your own podcast about childcare, right?
Yeah,
Red
exactly.
Diaper Babies.
It's immediately
It's just been 2 years of procrastination since.
Yeah.
18 months later. It took us 18 months to do one episode.
You had to buy the mics.
Well, you have to develop
make
the
the mics.
idea.
I don't know. You know what? I don't know why it took us so long, to be quite honest.
I don't know. Yeah, it was basically I was work actually. Childcare
True.
got in the way of my project trying to talk about childcare. Honestly, that's the real truth. And then I
Yeah.
thought for some reason someone else wanted to hear another leftist podcast about federal politics. Anyways, it's fine. So we started. We did our first episode of Red Diaper Baby.
Whoop whoop.
And for people who are confused, as I learned when I posted the link to it on different nanny and childcare pages, everyone thinks it means you have a
Diaper rash.
bleeding asshole. Which
Wait, what else could it
mean
possibly
That's what
I know.
everyone was saying. They were like, red diaper. That sounds like, that makes me really scared, actually. Just those two words together. So.
Brian's mom actually made a comment on the Facebook about the same thing, about
Love it.
basically needing some diaper ointment or,
Yeah.
that sounds awful.
Red diaper at night.
Yeah, exactly.
Nanny's
Wait,
delight. Red diaper at morning. Say nanny take warning.
Yeah.
that's I botched that
We're
adage. but
always
yeah.
saying warning. Yes, always.
Yeah,
Pretty
always.
much.
It was so funny because when I heard the name of it being a giant dork, I instantly was like, what a perfect name for a podcast.
Yeah,
about
I
childcare
was
from
just
the
gonna
left.
say,
I was
it's
like,
fucking
amazing.
solid name, Aces.
Yeah.
You nailed it.
Right.
So-
I
So
love
it's
it,
good.
but yes.
It's good for communism dorks, I guess.
Basically,
Great.
yeah.
So it feels like we just need to have like one solid episode or segment that just explains the name.
Exactly.
Guys, doesn't mean the child's butthole is bleeding.
Well, Ben, for our listeners, what is a red diaper baby? Why don't you clear the air?
It's a baby whose parents were communists, like back in the day. Like, you remember the American Communist Party, and you had or your parents were, and you were a red diaper baby. That's all.
Yeah, you can be a red diaper baby today, can't you?
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
I guess
yeah,
that's kind of where
who-
we're going for. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. I'm trying my best. Still-
people our age
Sadly,
have children.
yeah,
and those
some
of us-
do.
Some
can
do.
afford to.
Don't you have a kid, Ben?
No, I don't have a
He's
kid.
got 2 kitty cats.
I got 2 kitty cats.
He does have 2 kids, just like we have a child, but they're
Yeah.
cats.
Well, and I mean, I talk about the kids that I nanny that I like as though they're my children.
True.
So,
Yeah.
What about the ones you don't like?
Still,
they're
still your
clients. They're my clients.
clients. They're
Well,
my clients.
I-
They're this one client.
Yeah. No, but we should actually talk about what the show is, right? And not just how I'm mean to some children.
I mean, whatever.
Yeah. Brain. What's the show about? Give
well,
us the.
So our podcast, Red Diaper Baby, is about capitalism, crisis, and childcare. We were talking about childcare in the past and present, and what it might look like in the future. So there's not really any other podcasts like it, and Ben and I have worked in early childhood or childcare for a long time, and it's something that a lot of us want, because what we do isn't really represented. Like, of course, there's talk about, for parents, childcare for them, but nothing really touches on the personal experience of the caregivers, right? Yeah. And what we go through, what that looks like. And we do talk about parenting, that's important as well. But in a very different way than, what is really out there,
Yeah.
Well,
we're out there to crush and own all the mommy bloggers.
Wow.
Yes, they really are your nemesis. I mean,
they are.
When we abolish the nuclear family, the mother will be nothing and the nanny will be everything.
Yeah,
I fucking hope so.
Mommy bloggers are first against the wall.
Hell yeah.
But so, I think that's what's interesting about y'all's podcast. So me, Greg, Colin, we're just like well-to-do podcast impresarios, right? Just
well-to-do.
Living off
That's
our
for you, Erica C. Barnett.
Yeah, we're living off our podcast millions, and just sort of skating by, talking about politics because it's like a leisure activity for us. But you guys, are actual workers. You're your Marxist, working class, just slaving away in the slaving away in the childcare fields.
Yeah.
Raising the kids. And I've heard that raising children is the most important job that you can do. So I assume it's very well compensated and respected. But maybe what kind of jobs have you guys had in childcare, so we can get off on this here?
Well, I started in childcare when I was 16, so I've been doing this for 19 years. So I started as an after-school teaching assistant, and I've been a lead teacher, I've been a nanny, all of it. It's wonderful and fucking awful at the same time.
So you're 16 and watching children?
Yeah.
Babies raising babies.
Babies raising babies. I got the job. What would be my future boss sat me on the floor, handed me a baby, and asked me questions, and then offered me a job. She's like, that's all you need to do at that point.
I, of course, went to college just to learn how to change a diaper because they don't let men. You have to have a lot more qualifications. But no, yeah. So I've worked in some sort of like after school program or childcare probably the majority of my working time. I had like a few other jobs, but I've was mainly at a preschool and then was a nanny for 6-7 years now. And I guess I was, but probably the worst job I ever had in childcare was I worked at I probably shouldn't say the place's name because it's still in business, and it's in the Seattle area, but it was this after school program / dance studio.
What?
This is the Magnolia Mindset Academy. We're going to be very upset.
No, almost. But it was very focused on North Indian Hindu people who immigrated here to work in the tech industry on the east side. Now I basically just gave it away if you put all that shit together, but whatever, it's fine. They still owe me money, so I don't really care, So it was one of those jobs where they were constantly changing my hours and they were constantly shifting what my responsibilities were, and they just would basically just put me wherever, and they didn't know what to do with me. And
I could do this for the rest of my life.
Yeah, right. Yeah, totally. Exactly. I was like, couldn't be any better. Yeah.
Yeah, they put you in all the places and didn't know what to do with you because, unfortunately, you're a male in this industry.
Yeah, that was a problem. Actually, they just were so confused what to do with me, and they just were. it just was so obvious. Like the person who owned it and ran it was like younger than me. And like, again, she was just like someone who just like, I don't know. She like got a bunch of money or something and was like, I'm going to open a dance studio. But then she realized, oh shit, I have to pay rent. So I'm just going to like hire like a few random people off of Craigslist and then like
What if
not
it was
pay me
also
for
a child
weeks.
farm?
Yeah, it was in like the middle of like it was just like an empty like office that they just like filled up with shit. It was terrible.
They just
But,
filled it with children. That's all.
yeah, just children. And I felt so bad for all these children. They were all very, very cute. But again, that's the problem with childcare is like obviously there's the classic, like Marxist way to talk about, exploitation, surplus value, all that stuff. But like, there's also this like way that working in childcare, because a lot of the times the things you're working with are very cute and very like sometimes very loving. If you can build any sort of human connection at all, that is like kind of used against you as a worker. So it was like,
don't you love the kids?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't you love what you're doing? Then why are you being so greedy asking about money?
Yeah,
like,
why are you asking to be paid like more than $13
why are you
an hour?
asking to be treated like a human being? I mean, you're supposed to. You're here to treat the children well,
right?
Not you being treated well.
Well, it's like the same thing is used against teachers, against people in the medical profession, especially nurses, because it's similar to different things used in other industries, but it's like in that category, it's like the second you've decided, oh, I'm gonna make my living doing something that's necessary for human care, it implies that you're doing that because you're a saint, and thus just doing your saintly work and need nothing beyond the fulfillment of that, right? Or it's held hostage against you, the fact that the people you're serving, the human beings who need the care that they do, is held hostage against you, as like the minute you back away from that, you're harming those people you're caring for.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's just like one of those core aspects of any kind of like care work in a capitalist economy. And it's also a thing that sort of, I think, the like tension between that sort of feeling of like, I'm doing a job that is very necessary, right? I feel like in a lot of ways, the times when I was doing the kind of childcare work that was like the most necessary was the time I was being paid the least. That there's kind of this like cyclical thing. The recently late David Graeber, he wrote that book Bullshit Jobs. It was like the last book he wrote, and he kind of talks about this, and it's a very common trend in the economy in general. And I think it's just kind of telling about the like ways that honestly, like a lot of bosses and like executives are paid the most because they are the least important. So it's a as like with the Red Diaper Baby, when we are getting very, very highfalutin in our private chats, and we're talking about how this will finally be the podcast that will bring in socialism. Sorry, guys.
Well, I mean, we, all the groundwork that's been laid by all the other podcast episodes of Seattle Sucks. We started the jar, and you're gonna pop that lid.
That's how it works, right? Yeah, totally. Yeah. But like, childcare is just like a really good area of the economy, and like where you can just kind of see all of these different functions happening at once, because you also, obviously, as we already mentioned, you deal with a lot of gender issues, and you deal with a lot of issues around people's like home lives and their emotional lives, and then how their emotional lives are affected by their work, which they have to, it's cyclical, very much so.
Well, it's also it is obviously this, sort of quintessentially important and necessary work for any society, caring for young people, call it social reproduction, whatever. But tell me about like how far you guys think like the reality of it is from how it should be. I mean, what I'm saying is like you can imagine like we also need like teachers in schools, and we can complain about like how bad our public schools are, how unequal they are, how, you know, racist our education system is, how the rich send their kids to private school. But you can still imagine in a better, if we do crank out enough podcast episodes, and there's and bring about the revolution, like, I can imagine there basically being schools and teachers, but like what does but right now what there is there's nannies for some rich people in their homes, and then there's daycares for some people who can afford that, who and then there's people working as nannies and at these daycares who have kids themselves who are somehow being taken care of by someone else, or like it does not none of it really makes sense to me. Like how much does all of this suck? Like,
well, I mean,
a lot.
A lot. And that's the weird part is like, I could speak for both Ben and I. We absolutely love what we do, but we also fucking hate it. I mean, in those pieces that you just discussed.
Yeah.
We are not respected in any fucking way, and yet we do a very significant thing and a very important thing. And I hate to sound like a dick, but like, we do better than most parents, like the parents of the children that we're taking care of. But yet we're still, the help. Right. Yep.
So like, how do we abolish the nuclear family? Not a surprise to probably anyone listening. I mean, that doesn't sound like a radical thing to say, that you two people who really like children, like being around them, have put time into it in terms of a career, even have some training, would be more beneficial influence in a child's life minute to minute and over the course of time than the random fucking parents they were stuck with in a prison, like instead of I mean, that doesn't sound like a radical statement to me at all, because I have parents.
Like, I guess, personally for me and how I approach what I do, what we do, working in childcare, is I don't look at it as it is me loving children, but my job is to help instill these skills and social emotional skills for children to be good people in their community and society, and how to help. I'm trying to brainwash your children into being communists.
Good. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But I
was going to say, I just teach my kids how to sing the International.
There was a month where I just play Bella Ciao all the time.
Sure, yeah. There you go. Okay, very good. Excellent.
But I mean, the difference between what we do and what, say, a parent, raising your child is very individualistic, right?
Yeah.
It's individualism. And what we do is not, I don't know. I think
you're
that's
essentially
the struggle.
You're raising a child in a workplace, right? Because it's your work, right?
Exactly. And, Greg had just said something about asking about nannies that have children and somebody else taking care of them. Most nannies that have their own children take their children to work.
Yeah, exactly.
Which
That's
is
the thing
also
I'm already
really
thinking
struggling.
about. And I don't even have kids, but I'm like, well, I guess I got to figure that out too. I guess this means I can't sign a contract for longer than a year because, well, what if I have a kid,
Exactly.
So,
and it's really hard. And Ben's got a double whammy because he's male. And if he's male and has a kid, most people, they're either going to try to tell you they're going to pay you less because you're bringing your child to work. And that's right. And then he also, sorry, I'm speaking for you, but he already has a really hard time because they take one look at him and you're like, oh, you're a man. I mean, their immediate thought is, oh my God, you're going to touch my child.
No,
You
I mean
know?
it's 100% true that I have had just in the past year, I've had 5 different nanny jobs. None of them have actually ended because of any like issue with me. It's mainly been Rona or like related to I had like one family that like moved, you know. But in every single one of those jobs, there has been a queer family in it. Like that has been a necessary thing for me. And in some ways I have an advantage, particularly with like queer families, but that's mainly just because of a sense of like, oh shit, it's probably, you know, like they may see themselves in some context of being sort of like slightly outside of gender norms. But talking about the nuclear family, it's important, I think, to differentiate between the nuclear family and family in general, because it is true sort of that's when we say like the nuclear family and we think of sort of that like post-war version of the family that is sort of like segmented in our little boxes in the suburbs, you know,
the nucleus down to the smallest possible
Exactly.
form of what
Literally,
you can call
right?
a family, right? That's why it's, you know, so literally just this post-war idea for which all housing in America was built, for which tax incentives, for which the American dream is built around. 2 parents, a man and a woman, and their 2.5 children.
Exactly.
Living
And
isolated, not necessarily in a suburb that they moved to from somewhere else. Hey, hang on. Let's hang on a minute. What's up?
I gotta get her a drink.
Oh, sorry. Well,
nice.
Well, not nice because, well, he's my husband, and you know what? He's not. This isn't about him right now.
I'm also
Yeah.
That's what I'm laughing at. I was
Don't-
like, the hand
listen
signals
to
that was
him.
going on was
He
like,
is-
I thought there was like an emergency, and then I'm watching
No.
like the gentleman,
sorry.
the loving husband, literally climb through an obstacle course.
But you know what, though? He thought I was asking if he thought I was asking him if he wanted a drink, and he's like, "No, I'm good." And I was like, "No, husband, get me one."
So on Seattle Sucks, what we do is just drop our mic and go get a beer and crack
Absolutely.
it on
There you go.
Okay, well,
you know.
but I didn't want to miss out on this piece of conversation
Yes,
because
I
I
know,
might
I know,
have
I
wanted to
understand.
add in, and Brian didn't necessarily need to add in.
Oh, wow.
That's-
Yeah, fair enough.
That's
See?
saying it right there. Getting a peek into this marriage right now.
Which
is an
seen
important
many
part of
peaks.
the
You lived
family.
with us for 2 months, and you're here every week.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, what we were saying about the nuclear family,
Yeah,
like it also
yeah.
it's wrapped up in the suburbs. This idea that you can have a nuclear family that just plops down anywhere in America, in any suburb in America, and you're an isolated little unit that the kid that, and when you put that together in your head, like how atomizing and isolating that is. And for kids, that means like you are now, instead of being part of a community that you have a lot of access to a lot of different things, maybe you go to school during the day, but your entire world is basically that like trip to school during the day and this box you live in with these 2 fucking probably crazy people who just happen to decide to have kids, and then they're your only guardians, your only protection, your only like the people you learn everything from, all your like intellectual and emotional development, like especially
Yes
early
and
on.
no. Actually, what we do is they get all their emotional skills and needs from us. And in that short, I'm
From
going to sound
nannies.
like a fucking asshole, but we spend more time with those fucking children than their fucking parents do.
Yeah,
Because
Yeah,
we're with them all day.
When I got that,
in those
that was
critical,
it blew my mind.
critical moments. And they just come home and either you've already made dinner or they come home and they're going to make dinner, but they're with their kids for an hour, hour and a half.
Yeah.
After they get home, put them to bed, and then the day starts over. And who wakes those kids up and gets them ready for school or their day? Us.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
and so it's really shitty because there's this really weird thing as a parent, like, you're a child's parent. And as a child, you're like, that's my mommy, that's my daddy. They are these big beings in your life, right? Yes, Ben and I and other nannies and childcare workers are big in their life too, and we do a lot of work. But because they're parents, it seems to just wipe out anything else, right? So we do all of this work, and we instill all of these things, and the weekend comes, and it's fucking gone.
Yeah.
You know, and because, and I hate to sound like an asshole again, and it's not me being like, well, I know about parenting better than anybody else, but the parents, it's too hard for them.
Well, because they have other jobs too, right? Like there is this like childcare in capitalism does not exist in a bubble outside of the other pressures. And like I'm a really cool guy, so of course I'm listening to a Eric Hobsbawm book on audiobook and very, very cool guy. But like I'm like starting at the beginning of his 4 books, and it's like about the early industrial revolution and proto-capitalism and how, I mean, it's true, like it's a Marxist cliche, the whole like, everything solid melts into air, but like that the transformation of these kinds of relationships and these kinds of needs that childcare fits are basically trying to fit these sort of biological needs that we have as humans from, hunter-gatherer and agricultural societies where just by that nature, you're living in sort of a more communal way or sort of a way where you can kind of share that space more. But as, the economy demands, parents become more and more specialized and have to go do certain jobs that are believe me, I'm glad child labor doesn't exist. Well, it doesn't exist legally, but
I always say like, small hands do lots of small work.
Ironically, it does still exist in America's tobacco fields legally, which is fascinating cut out in American law, labor law.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, come on, we got to protect the Commonwealth of Virginia. So.
If we don't got them smokes, how are we going to look cool?
Exactly. Still, exactly.
Yeah. It seems like there's 2 things going on today then where you've got either the nuclear family, like a true nuclear family situation that is largely like going away in America, the real nuclear family, like or the like idealized nuclear family, I'll say, where you have a single family home where one parent is home with the kids, providing it and doesn't work. And the kids don't need childcare outside of school, because there's a parent home, and that's toxic and in its own way. But what now we have is a bunch of like everybody at every socioeconomic like level in this country trying to fake that in some way. So it's either you are like some of your wealthier clients who both parents have jobs and careers, that they have this house, that they have this kid that they're pretending is this nuclear family, but really it doesn't work. So they've got outside contractors coming in to do that parenting, that family work for them, and then you've got everything down from there to all kinds of, but it's all sort of in everybody's mind. It's all based on how close can I get, or how can I work around, or everything starts with the nuclear family because we have nothing outside of that. So whatever concessions you're making to the nuclear family, it still sort of starts around that. Even if I spent a lot of my childhood in at a daycare,
right?
There's
for
nothing
sure.
wrong with that.
Well, you had actually brought up ways that sort of people in sort of all over the socioeconomic ladder deal with, not being able to sort of fulfill these unrealistic sort of, very archaic and not even very like historically grounded ideas like the nuclear family, right? Like that's not exactly like a thing that is really the way things had been. Really,
no.
Try to tell an American that though.
Even 100. Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. But like one thing that I've seen a lot that is honestly like really makes me sad is, and believe me, makes me feel like a piece of shit when I would get like food delivered and I would go out and meet the person to get it.
Oh God.
I saw kids in the
No.
car
Oh,
all
God.
the time, all the time. Like, and this is just another way that some of these jobs, it's like, oh, we're offering flexibility. You can bring your kid with you, like, like
Awful.
it's yeah, and it just sort of shows, the stressors that are on people because, it's not just like, obviously it's good for society to continue having humans. I'm pro human here. Sorry.
Okay, that's controversial on this podcast.
Yeah, in some parts of the left, maybe, but
well, it's okay to keep having humans. I don't know about Americans, though.
Oh, okay, there we go. Yeah, but yeah,
the Greg Ryan plan: 100 Americans.
Yeah,
that's as many as the world.
Cool.
needs.
All right. Well, we'll just keep on. I can finally live my Texan dream of seeding from America. Finally. So this, these pressures and these needs are not being met, and in that gap of people wanting to have children and honestly being socially encouraged to have children, but then not actually being able to meet those needs, in that gap is where a lot of some state intervention, but growingly a lot of like not, profit driven capital coming in. And I know me and Brynn, we're going to try to do an episode on this. We're like trying to like be relatively focused with our themes for each episode, because it's like so hard to like narrow it down because there's so much fucking shit. But like, we both have worked at times for sort of some of these kind of independent broker startup kind of things. Like I worked at this thing called Helper. Yes, there's one E. There's one E. That's where the E is, right?
Yep.
And it was really eye-opening, and it was really bad. Like it was some disturbing shit, because you got to see really like obviously, I got to kind of see the ways that people that like, oh, it's interesting to see how like a tech company kind of like, how they're going to innovate on childcare, right? And it's awful, it's fucked up, it's dark, all that stuff. But then I also kind of got to see how desperate a lot of families are, and how some of these things are in lieu of like a childcare stipend, or as a lot of companies I think should do, having childcare just on site. Honestly, I think that's like a really good thing in a lot of ways. I have a friend whose husband works at Wizards of the Coast, and they have like a childcare center there, right? He used to send his kid there until COVID.
Makes sense.
And and I'm sure they get to play with magic cards the whole time, which to me sounds awesome. But how now things like Helper and some of these, there's like other ones, they all have ridiculous.
Yeah, like there's college nannies, there's helpers.
College nannies, which is where you worked,
one
right?
that and then there's one called Poppy. And
yes, Poppy. I applied for Poppy, but Helper took me first. So
yeah, and so I used to be what was called a role model manager, because for college nannies, they weren't nannies.
You're my role model, Brynn, I have to say.
Thank you. So when I applied for this job and I interviewed, what I was sold and told what my position would be to be an advocate and a mentor for the nannies within our company, that company. And I was like, fuck yeah, this is great. I can, use my, many years and what I have in my toolbox to help new nannies. And then the first day came and I had my orientation with the other new gal. And one of the first things that came out of the mouth of my boss at that time was, our lowest paying nannies are our best workers because they don't know any better. The ones that get paid the most, well, they know that they can go get a job for $30 an hour somewhere else. So they're not as good as the lowest paying ones. And made my heart drop into my stomach, and I should have just walked out the door at that time. I lasted about 2 months because it was the most horrific fucking shit on the planet. Just overworking these poor, underpaid childcare workers. And you're right. You mentioned families. Something that you noticed working for Helper is that families are desperate, and families are fucking desperate. I mean, Brian can attest to this. I mean, I was working until fucking midnight some nights, just scheduling and trying to place care workers, nannies with families that like their kids were sick or something happened and they needed last minute childcare because, like you said, this is a stipend or a benefit in a lot of workplaces. And it's called BUCA, backup care assistance.
Yes, backup care.
And
exactly.
It's a fucking really rotten. I think it's just disgusting and rotten.
Well, and the fact of the matter is, and this is why we need state intervention, is that it's kind of like we have we have simultaneously like an abundance of supply and demand, but we don't have enough money. Like because these are not things that, with how much people are paid, even like middle class people can really afford to pay nannies well enough to actually. So it's like, this is why we need some sort of massive wealth redistribution, or honestly probably like just like we, in our most recent episode that's going to come out soon, we talked about Head Start and kind of like how that maybe started as a very promising possible way to get to universal childcare, but just due to like austerity and honestly just the timing of just how like the greater worldy economy was going, it just had to become more means tested and became less and less universal because of neoliberal austerity. So it's and like this is why I think we really desperately need to like not be depending on non-profits or, God forbid, Jeff Bezos to personally build a childcare center like in my neighborhood, which like Jesus fucking Christ. I still think I should apply there, but I just
don't do it. Please don't
I just feel like it would be so funny. I don't know why. Like
no,
they probably wouldn't even hire me. But
tell us stories.
Exactly.
Well, I think the thing that's interesting, right? I mean, you talk about we have supply and demand, but we have no money. But it's kind of like the healthcare debate, right? Where you go back and forth about this, where there's shit tons of money. It's just all getting eaten up by private property or by private profit, right? I mean, the college nannies thing is this thing that I don't think that maybe people who don't have kids or maybe aren't actively purchasing childcare understand. It's just a temp worker scheme, right?
Oh,
they find people who need money. They pay them. They pay them as little as possible while they receive a huge, So the person who's receiving the nanny is paying a shit ton of money.
Oh yes,
exactly.
It's just the nanny doesn't get any of it, right?
No, not at all.
Which is the thing at your preschool, right? A preschool. I mean, anybody who has kids knows how much preschools charge, but go see what the teachers get paid.
We don't get paid shit.
Yeah,
I mean,
so this it's all getting swallowed into private hands.
Working for the college nannies, right? Like, I would have made a commission had I stayed there longer. Like your recruiters, your managers.
Bonus for every kid that doesn't die.
No, for every family that you can rope in within there, or how many clients, or how many contracts that you can bring in, or how many nannies that you can retain and get to work far more hours than is healthy or legal.
Yeah,
I mean. It's fucking disgusting.
Well, and it's creating these like huge pools of private profit. And I mean, just like healthcare, it's one of those things where it's like, if we just took that money out of the profit side of the equation and just plowed it into the actual service, we probably actually could have universal childcare, right?
Yeah.
It could probably easily be funded. But because of how it's done, right, it is creating a industry that turns large profits, but it's also forcing it to where the the childcare is only at the upper end of the income spectrum,
Yep.
right? You got to have a lot of money
yeah.
to pay for private childcare so that your kids can be watched after by people making minimum wage, right?
Right. Or you can do like a crazy nanny share like I'm in right now, where it's like it's like probably too many kids, but it's just the only way.
You have to pull resources. I mean, it's very 19th century,
Exactly.
really.
At the same time,
yeah.
you're like, I don't know exactly how much per hour Ben makes, but I know it's not enough.
Let us know, Ben. How much
3
is it? Not
kids
joking.
for whatever an hour.
I will say this: when people heard about the job on a nanny board, and the original offer they viewed was not enough. I got more, so it's not, it's a little more complicated. But it is it is a thing that is like, it's just like an unsustainable setup, honestly. Like, it is just that, and I think that's why I'm even more doubtful about the amount of money that can even be. I don't know.
Right.
Like I totally get that these like big, I mean, obviously there's like Bright Horizons,
Which,
like that in and of itself makes a shit ton of money.
Oh yeah, well,
I know if you folks who
college
work there,
nannies
that
are now
sucks.
connected, or they were when I was working there, was connected to Bright Horizons, which is where Buka comes from.
Perfect.
So,
Perfect.
yep.
Great. Yeah, exactly. And I cannot wait until they get big enough to sponsor the 2024 Democratic Convention, like how
Jesus
Uber
Christ.
did in 2016. But it's a whole other
those
other
fucking like
issue.
college nannies, helpers, they are the Uber of childcare.
Oh, absolutely. And they are, and this is why I kind of feel like, and not that like I think fighting for Medicare for all is still something that 100% needs to happen. But it's a thing that I worry that if, because like we only have so many resources and so many issues, and we have street movements that are calling for, like obviously you guys talk a lot about defunding the police and massive structural change with the justice system. But I feel like every day that we don't have a universal childcare system, these companies are just getting a little bit more power, a little bit more money, a little bit more buy-in. And then it's going to be like with us trying to get rid of Medicare for all, where people are just constantly being like, yeah, but all these people work in this industry, being the blood suckers.
Or
Like, what are you going to do for the blood suckers?
Or they'll become another massive donor to the Democratic Party.
Exactly.
Well, so maybe this is a good way to run our last leg here of this discussion. I mean, you guys have talked about the need for state intervention, but like we've seen with Medicare for all, at least in this cycle, that that all seems to be foreclosed. That seems to be a dead end for now. Like we were just saying, like the debates were basically about like who hates the left the most.
Right.
Two candidates who can be farthest from Bernie Sanders. That was really the purpose of Joe Biden's existence is, foreclosing the possibility of Medicare for all, much less anything else. So if that's not at least, in the near future, a possibility, what is a possible future to look at? Is there a potential in organizing childcare workers and building power that way? Is it more about, like, from the opposite end, organizing other workers and having childcare as a plank on the demands in other industries? So meaning like if you have power in a workplace demanding that you have childcare on site,
That is actually the one way that would be more like even possible, because as Ben also knows that so the year or the time that you guys had us on, they had just passed a bill in Washington State, the domestic workers bill, for, mandatory paid time off and sick leave and breaks and blah, 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 which seems all great and grand, right? You're like, oh, wow. Yeah. Only it's bullshit. It's because domestic workers are not allowed to unionize. So we could not organize. I mean, I guess we can, but it would be very
It's like
difficult.
one of those, it's like so hard just because you're not bargaining with just like one person or even like one sector in the way that you could, right? Like, so like which really sucks, which would mean like if we were looking at trying to sort of build like worker power in this world, it would have to be probably at a place like Bright Horizons, honestly.
Right.
So if anyone wants to salt there, that would be awesome.
And any whiff of that, though, every single one of those people will be fucking fired.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, I like the idea of making it sort of a thing that is sort of factored in the same way that things like health insurance and higher wages and worker protections are. Another thing that I do think there could be some sight for, especially for those, focusing on the barren waste that is electoral politics. And I know people love to rag on this guy, and I love to rag on him too. He's like the ultimate Brooklyn dad, Bill de Blasio. He did pass in New York a universal pre-K program, which basically just extends what public school is from 5-year-olds to 4-year-olds.
Right.
And I think sort of adding things like that in municipal and like state levels might be, especially if we have, honestly, even if we have like a Democratic controlled, federal government. I think that is a place that, for instance, if you're in a place like Seattle, it would be very good to focus on things like that, just because that is something that we can point to very effectively. Although, honestly, we can also just point to the fact that if you go to like Quebec, it's like $8 a day for drop-in care. So it is actually totally possible. But that's another route.
Well, you guys, seem to be skeptical about the at least near-term possibility of mass organization of child care workers, but I am hoping that Red Diaper Baby, the new podcast, can
be great.
The vehicle for that. Rather than start a Discord server, you guys can just start the Red Diaper Baby Child Care Guild.
I hope so. I was just telling Ben yesterday when we recorded. So I joined this Seattle nannies group, Facebook group.
Yes.
This group,
Facebook
and it's
group
supposed to be
drama.
like,
Yes.
supporting each other and whatnot. And I told Ben about it, and he joined it. And so we were talking yesterday about something, and he was like, "Oh yeah," and within our group, I was like, "No, I was kicked out of that." And he's like, "Why?"
Should've seen that coming.
Because I was too radical. Because I was trying to organize all the nannies. I was too political and too radical. So
my God.
I got booted.
How penetrated by QAnon was this particular?
Not really, sadly.
That's too bad.
There has been this one nanny who seems very nice. I think she's constantly posting her raps in the group, but also she's been posting a lot about how much weed she smokes and worried that people
Hell yeah.
And I don't know if I'm breaking protocol by bringing that up, but I just found it really, really funny.
That rules.
And also yeah, I mean, I get it. It's like a private thing, and also like I don't care. But also, and it's like legal here, but it's just like, just honestly, just like the more you post about it, the more guilty you are. So if you don't post about it, you're not guilty. So just don't post about it.
Yeah. Well, the thing about that group is I think it's a fantastic and lovely idea, but the administrators of it, they fancy themselves these very progressive people, yet they're just extremely center, almost right.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well,
Seattleites.
Yeah, I mean,
it is
Very
Seattle area nannies persona. It is Seattle area plus nanny. So
Perfect. Say no more.
Well, and it is that.
Maybe you've heard of a podcast called Seattle Sucks.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
And it is that meme, right? Libs hate the left more than they hate the right, right?
Yeah.
And that's a reality. I mean, working in any of these groups, I mean, you can go to a machine shop and talk to the guys there.
For sure.
It's just as big. It has all the same obstacles because there's just no class consciousness in America
Nope.
at a time when it's desperately needed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, hopefully, Red Diaper Babies helps to bring it. Hopefully, it helps to create hope. This is what I hope for you guys. I hope that your baby. Or your baby, your podcast.
Yeah,
I hope that
baby.
your podcast,
Baby, I got.
I hope your podcast converts a couple to communism. Then they have sex while listening to your podcast, and then 9 months later, a red diaper baby is born.
Well,
Yes.
that
Oh my
child
God.
will then be
If that ever happens,
When that happens.
and they don't need to be listening. Wow, that's disgusting.
No, they do. They have to be.
That's the conception
I
story.
do
Yeah,
not
yeah.
like the idea of that.
Yeah.
They
I don't
get
want
so
somebody
turned
having
on.
sex to our voices.
Do not like the idea. of that.
No, they get so turned on by the red horizon that they see when they listen to your podcast. They finally believe there's a future.
Oh
God.
God, absolutely not.
Okay,
Sorry.
but
No, that's
I'm gonna say-
knowing that there are definitely people out there turned on by each of your voices, would you
Well, there you
consider
go.
cutting a duet album for people to conceive their children, red diaper
we
babies
could
too?
think about it. I mean,
Okay,
we'll think about it.
What I hope for your podcast is that it becomes rapidly very internationally popular, and that Brynn becomes like an internet left childcare sensation.
What about-
That this causes major jealousy and strife in their new podcaster marriage.
I mean, Brian was already yelling before we even recorded our first episode. There's only room for one podcaster in this house.
I'm sorry.
I know, he
guys.
was
I'm
like,
sorry.
no.
I'm sorry.
Brian, he's put
He's very
in.
sad about it.
He's a man of letters and a man of podcast ranting. He's put in these years,
he can be
slowly
a
climbing
kept-
up to 73
He can
patrons.
be a kept podcaster husband
Yes,
and a
yes.
stay-at-home cat dad.
Perfect.
I mean,
Yeah.
That's the dream.
yes, it's a dream.
That is the dream. I'd love nothing more.
I know. I mean, I'm just trying to do that for him as a loving wife.
I would record podcasts for my cat where none of the equipment's plugged in and it's all just directed at the cat.
Oh, yes.
He doesn't know that's what this is. Well, that's pretty much a full episode. We didn't get to the segment where I talk about my long-term feelings of about wanting children, being good around kids, how much kids like me, how I've come in the last several years for reasons global and personal to the realization that I do not want children, and so. But that
I mean,
we just won't don't have
He won't
time for
even
all
pick
that.
up our
so.
our cat child's. I mean, Uncle Greg won't even pick up our cat, his
Yeah.
nephew.
You can't even watch a cat.
I
What is he
know.
gonna do? Well, I
I
will.
fed the cat.
You did, but you were
did,
supposed
you
to snuggle him and hold him.
Cats can't live off food alone.
Cats,
Yeah, they
I don't
need
know
love.
cats.
Well, I will say that
I'm not convinced that cat even knows you're a living person when you're holding it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes, he does.
Well, I will say, on a somewhat serious note, sort of as we head out, me and Brynn were talking about this the other day, but you were at this very interesting time in the United States where, we can look around. I'm in my very late 30s, you're in your mid 30s, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we can look around at everybody that we know, and almost none of them have kids.
Nope.
And
Yeah.
despite all the jokes that we make on the left about like breeders or whatever, that is a bad sign, I think, historically for society when they just stop having
terrible.
children
Yeah.
altogether.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't need to have just like enough to just like one for every two. Like if we could keep that up even, and we're like looking like Japan in the 90s. Like it's not good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it says something I think very interesting about where we're at in this country, and I look forward to hearing you guys dissect what that meaning
It's
is.
fine
Yay,
because by the
thank you.
time like we're old and there's no one of a younger generation to take care of us, we will have perfected the robot caretaker technology that the Japanese have been working on for so long.
Yeah. It's that dog that like injects you with fucking just something to kill you.
Hydrochloroquine.
Yeah, it's a robot dog who just injects it straight into your heart.
Or
so you die.
it could be like, what's the marshmallow guy that's super cute from
Stay Puffed Marshmallow.
Kirby?
Michelin Man.
No, it's the it's Ryan. You maybe watch it. He was like the little marshmallow healthcare guy.
Oh, from the movie,
Not Super
the Sony
8
movie.
or-
I don't remember what it is.
Yeah, I
called.
don't know. He was adorable.
Big Hero 6.
Hero 6. If it's gonna be anything, I want it to be like the adorable Hero 6
Yeah.
taking care of kiddos.
It'll be an adorable, inflatable personal health care consultant who just wraps his arms around you and slowly smothers you to death. Like the
Stop
second you hit
it.
60.
Yeah,
Finally.
the shotguns existed for long enough. We don't need all this technology to do that. Okay.
Well, just want to say thank you for having us on.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys,
Thank you
thanks
guys.
for coming on. I've heard the first episode. It's great. I'm looking forward to more episodes diving into the history and present of childcare in this hell world that we live in.
Yeah, the real test is, will people come back for the second episode?
No. The real test in podcasting is, will you come back for the third episode?
No shit.
That actually is the real test.
That's the real test.
Having
of
had a
podcasting.
few aborted podcasts with friends, that's absolutely the real test.
Well,
but
Ben
I
and
think
I have
we're
a
committed.
million. Oh, we're committed because
Once
We
you've
have
done
too
two,
many notes.
Once
We
you've
have-
done two,
yeah.
you'll do 100. That's the rule.
we have far too many notes. Our topic list is like a mile fucking long. Like there is
It's too much.
Oh, and it's so
much.
Well, you
exciting.
spent 18 months developing it on
Well,
fair
chalkboards
enough,
in
fair enough.
Ben's
Yeah,
apartment.
exactly.
Well,
So
where can it's a great show, and where can people find it?
Go to rdbshow.com. It has links to all the different versions. It's on.
That's RGB show.
Yeah,
Stop
right,
it!
I know.
Knock it out!
I know.
Don't confuse people.
I bought that domain name a day before
You
she
did.
died.
You did. I know.
Hilarious to me. So
Brian's
ridiculous.
making that joke since. I
Oh,
was like,
okay, good,
Shut
great.
up. Yeah, so RDB show.com at RDB show pod.
And you can
On
get
Twitter,
it on Spotify and all the other
Spotify,
fucking
Podbean.
things. Yeah.
What other ones can we get it on? He's the technical man on this project.
I'm trying my best. I fucked up with multiple shows that I made, so I'm learning. I'm using all these lessons, and I'm trying to be. I'm trying to do better. I'm doing better. Okay, I'm trying to do better.
Now,
so.
I'm just riding
yeah.
the wave of his knowledge.
All your lessons.
Oh, you're our expert researcher. Without you,
Yes.
I would just talk about all the times
Well,
I had poop get on my face.
I don't even have a job right now,
I've
so
never been a
that's
nanny,
the job.
but I've had poop on my face at work.
Well, who hasn't?
And what about Unpopular Front? Still ongoing?
It's kind of on hiatus just for the time being.
Okay.
I'm I sort of have become a recurring guest on a friend at a New Orleans show, Good Morning Comrade.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm kind of doing that kind of stuff there now. We'll see. Once we kind of get Red Diaper Baby going, who knows? Maybe I'll crank that back up. But right now, everything Ben Yudishin is Red Diaper Baby related.
All right.
We got to make that podcast money. We got to amp it up.
Exactly.
Our spouses need to be kept spouses through our podcast
Yeah, exactly.
money.
Exactly. Oh, that would be great. That would be
I
nice.
can't wait.
I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
No. I know Greg hopes for it too because he likes to eat at our house and likes my
Well,
cooking. so-
Greg's gonna be
there you
Greg's gonna be the Kato Kalin to our success story.
Oh, no. Wah, wah, wah.
Greg's face right now. Oh.
Fuck it. I'm adopting. I need something to love.
There you go. Perfect.
All right. Well, should we get out of here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
All right.
Thank
All right,
you so
guys.
much.
Yep.
See
you.
Bye. Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye.